Good afternoon. My name's Eric Ritter. Thank you for joining us on the first episode of Conversations on Culture Coaching Podcast. Today we have a very special guest for you, going to be joining us in a few minutes. His name is Coach Larry McKenzie. Coach McKenzie is the current head high school boys basketball coach at Minneapolis North High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and his resume is impressive. I'm excited to hear from him today. For you all to be able to hear from him and learn from him. Coach McKenzie's resume includes he was the first African-American head coach inducted into the Minnesota Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2014. He was the first coach in the state of Minnesota to win 4 straight state titles in the 100-year history of the Minnesota State Boys Basketball Tournament. He's also the only coach to lead 2 teams to multiple state titles in the Minnesota high school basketball history, and he accomplished that in 2017. Like I said, Coach Larry McKenzie is the current coach of Minneapolis North High School, and looking forward to hearing about Coach's take on culture and how he builds that up with his youth. Hey, Coach. Just waiting for your audio to connect. Hey, Coach, I got you. Don't have any audio, though. Are you able to hear me at all? Yeah. That's strange.
So I didn't join the audio.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No problem. You able to hear me?
I can.
Good. Well, super excited, to have you on. I did a little intro before you got in here. I'm just
Okay.
recording it, and then obviously going to chop some of this up and get it ready for people to view. But why don't you just start by telling us a little about your program? You, yourself, program, background. Give us the details, Coach.
A little bit about me. Okay. So, I guess you've already introduced me. Larry McKenzie, current coach at Minneapolis North High School. I just finished my 7th year at Minneapolis North. Prior to that, I coached for 5 seasons at the Academy of Holy Angels, which is a private school in Minnesota, in Richfield, Minnesota. Before that, I spent a year coaching in the ABA, as you well know, with a team called the Minnesota Ripneys. That was around for a year before running into some financial challenges, and started I actually started coaching middle school basketball and third graders was the start of my career. But I spent 9 years at Minneapolis Patrick Henry High School, where obviously I became the first coach to win 4 consecutive state titles at Minneapolis Patrick Henry High School. Have since won 2 more titles at Minneapolis North. So I think 6 titles, which is number 3 on the list of most titles in the state of Minnesota. So a little bit about me. Not sure where to even start in terms of our program. The thing that I would probably tell most people, we do run it. Our basketball program a little bit different from probably most high school basketball programs. A lot of it is built on accountability. So we have a number of systems and those kind of things in place around accountability for our kids. And because we have those things, we've had a lot of success in terms of moving our kids from high school to college to making sure that they have opportunities after they leave high school. But I can tell you that, my kids are prepared to play at the next level just because of the way that we run our program. So.
Yeah, and a lot of that is awesome, and I've known that about you, so I'm excited to hear you, share a little bit about the details of that program, the culture, the accountability pieces, everything you're talking about. I think there's going to be coaches, when I share this thing on Twitter, I don't have a big following, but you do, and when you share this thing, you are going to, people are going to get to peek back behind the veil a little bit more than some of the stuff. So it's going to be exciting to watch coaches flourish and reach out and ask you about more details of this stuff. I just think that's a great opportunity. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some of those details with us about how it's going. What makes it your culture unique? I know you said you run it a little bit different. We've talked offline, so I know you run it like a college program. But for some of those maybe high school coaches who are out there watching this, explain to us what that entails for you, the amount of time, the amount of money, the accountability, if you don't mind sharing those details to us.
Oh man, it's so I always tell, like, even my staff, and I'm blessed to have a staff that's been together for a long time. Almost every place I've been, the staff has been consistent. So it's guys that's been with me or played for me, so they're very familiar with how we do things. So I think that's one. So when we start talking about doing things different, one, I have a staff that, and I'm the kind of coach is I use my assistant coaches. But going back to your questions, it's a full-time job for very, 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 very little pay. So you got to love the sport and you got to love kids. And just to bring you inside to our program. So first of all, I tell you, I do use my coaches. So we actually, even to play in our program is probably a little bit different from most programs, Eric. So any kid that wants to play varsity or JV basketball, so before you can even get into the gym in terms of the first day of tryout, we require all of our kids. So if you're going to play varsity or JV, you have to have a 6-minute mile. If you're a post play, if you're a wing, you have to have a 6:30 time if you're a post player. So
Okay.
that allows you to be a part of the team, but kids can't participate unless we have those things. So I have tell you, with that in place, I've never had to really cut anybody. Kids usually cut themselves because that in itself is a commitment. And so if you're not serious, if you want to, if you want to be doing some other kinds of things and not necessarily taking care of your body, it's difficult. You're not serious about the game, then you're not going to get out on that track and run that 6-minute mile or that 6:30 mile to say that I want to do this. So That's one of the things that we always talk about with our kids. And really, it's not about the time as much it is about discipline and learning to goal set. So so one of the things when we go in the huddle, we know that we all have in common. Everybody in there has at least made that commitment of the 6 minute mile, 6:30 mile, being in condition and in that part of our team. Our first 8 practices, our kids don't touch a ball. So I tell people, Coach K talk about, I mean, you got to emphasize those things that are important to you. And the two things that we want people to say when you talk about Minneapolis North basketball, one, kids play hard, and then that they play defense. And so for the first 8 practices, we go back and I'm emphasizing defense. And so we start with the basic things in terms of just the right defensive stance. We start with, what's an advanced step, what's a retreat step, how do you open up and swing, and all of those kind of things. So it's a lot of, full court zigzag drills, mirror drills, all of those kind of things that emphasize the importance of defense. And I tell kids, if you can't defend, then chances are you're going to have a hard time playing in our program. And so when
Yeah.
kids come there, they know that you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna have to make a commitment to play defense. Coach is doesn't really care about my 3-point shot and any of that other kind of stuff. The emphasis on if I want to play, if I want to get minutes, I'm gonna have to defend. And I just believe that, as a player, I know in my own career, I was a scorer, right? But even I had nights where the ball wouldn't go in, and so I had to do other. And plus, I played with some other great players. So I think the one thing that I learned from my own personal experiences, I had to learn how to contribute in other ways, right? In high school, I played with a couple what I would consider great guards, Cecil Ubide and Oscar Martinez, and both of those guys were two of the best players in the city when I was playing, and so I wasn't going to get an opportunity to put up points. That did happen for me as a senior because then it was my team. But before that, I had to earn my wings, and so I did that by rebounding and playing defense. And so that's an emphasis for me. When that ball's not going, I just believe if we can get 2 baskets and we can hold them to 1, we can be champs. So a lot of the emphasis is on defense. And then when you get into the season, when you start looking at our program, so we have mandatory study hall. It's one of those non-negotiables. And so kids, they get out of school, we provide them with a snack. Then we have tutors come in. And so the program is both academic and life skills. And so they get to go to a teacher or a tutor come in to work on whatever the things that they need. So one of the things I have is what I call the A+ program. And if I could, I would love to share. I do have a PowerPoint that I could share with you if you
Yeah.
can give me the.
Yeah, you got it, Coach. Should be up here. Should be able to share.
So let me find this, and I can kind of, and I'll just kind of find it and walk through, if I can. So you might want to freeze things, but let me get. And I'll talk through some of this, what I have.
Yeah, feel free to share. I've already taken a ton of notes, and I obviously got follow-up questions, and we'll get to some of that a little bit later. I just want to give you this floor and allow you to speak on what makes it unique, because not a lot of high schools out there doing mandatory study halls or doing
Right.
entrance need a 6-minute mile, 6:30 mile. What kind of, I know you've had success, and I've known you for 20 years now as a coach since you were at Patrick Henry. Now, what kind of kickback from parents are you seeing, if at all, with any of this stuff?
let me just find this. You know what? To be honest with you, Eric, I don't get it. And that's the thing when kids. I'm clear to communicate to parents um, that that what we do is not for everybody. Um, and so when they come to North or they come to our program, they know that they kind of know what they're getting into. They know what they're signing up for. So I get a lot of support from parents.
Okay.
Lot of support. Um, let's see.
And I could imagine, I mean, once they know what you're going to do with their sons, as far as study table, taking care of them, prepping them for college, the accountability piece. I mean, I can imagine that there's tremendous support for that. And the only thing I asked was because I've been an assistant high school coach before. I've heard parents talk about the challenges of, it's not for everybody. And you said that, and
Yeah,
that's 100% it.
yeah. So we kind of let everybody know. I'm trying to find this PowerPoint here. I forgot what I named it. But I'll find it and then we'll come back and share or here maybe we take a break here. But just so going back, so we do the mandatory study hall, so parents know that. So what I do is I send out I have what I call the A+ letter, right? It's called academics plus athletics, and so as soon as we have our roster, I send that out to the administration and every teacher. And what that does is that gives the teachers what the expectations are for our kids. So I ask that our kids be allowed to sit in the first 3 rows of the classroom if possible. And the reason that we do that, Eric, we both know from experience, right? If teachers know your name and they see you in the classroom, you automatically got a chance to get a C. If you do a little bit extra, you get a B or A. So we try to teach our kids that early, right? So when you get to colleges, the professors know you, right? And you ask questions and all those kind of things. You position yourself. So, that's part of teaching them competitive advantage. So we ask for that. I ask that teachers let me know that if my kids are late, so if they get to school late, I get a text. If they don't turn in homework, I get a text. All of those kind of things. And so in terms of holding our kids accountable. So as part of that A+ program, so teachers get my cell phone number and they get my email. So anything that's going on with one of my players, I want to know. And so they know that, and so they become, and that's why and so A+ is part of, the family, the academic staff, and the coaches all working together as a team on behalf of the young man that's in our program. So with that, every Thursday, so our kids, they have to sign a player-parent contract. The contract says that parents understand that they have to participate in mandatory study hall. It's not an option,
Mm-hmm.
So if your kids can't make that commitment, chances are they won't be a part of the program, because I know for a fact. So one of my things is, obviously, I tell my guys when I started out doing this, I got into coaching and primarily high school coaching because I saw so many talented kids that would play 3-4 years of basketball, actually win championships, and then end up on the street. And so when I said this is that when I wanted to do this, that, if we were not going to have the game use you, we're going to have you use the game. So if you do, and I say this in terms of what I do, is that if your kid does everything, and I say, and the key word here is everything that I ask them to do, as long as they're playing for me, I guarantee they'll go to college. And I'm not saying D1, I'm not saying D2, I'm not saying D3, NAIA. I guarantee they'll go to college, and I believe in that so much that I'll go down to Wells Fargo and get that notarized.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, I know for a fact that if I can get African-American males to graduate with a 3.0 or better, at least a 20 on the ACT, that they're going to go to college.
Yeah.
So there's nothing magical about that except the system of accountability, right? And
Mm.
so our kids sign a contract that they got to go to study hall. So what we do is our schedule look like this. So they get out of school at 3:15. From 3:15 to 3:30, you pick up your snack. We provide a sandwich, some chips, bottle of water, Gatorade, something of that every single day that we have study hall. You go to your teacher, you check in so I, on my staff, one of my assistant coaches serve as what we call the academics and life skill coordinator. That's
Mm-hmm.
his job. He get an extra stipend for doing that. You go to your class see a teacher or whatever academics you need from 3:30 to 4:15. At 4:15 you come back. At 4:30 we start what is our life skill component. And so on Mondays that is leadership. So typically study hall is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
Okay.
Monday we have leadership. That's usually a class that I'm teaching. Last year we used John Gordon's team camp as a
Okay.
curriculum for the kids. On Wednesday we have weightlifting and yoga, and then on Thursdays we do a curriculum with the city of Minneapolis called Boys to Men, and it talks about domestic violence and those kind of things and making the right kind of choices. So that is our curriculum. Also, every Thursday, I bring in a African American, or I shouldn't say all the time. I bring in a businessman, somebody with a basketball background who played, who's coached, who's successful to speak to our kids. So we have
Nice.
a keynote speaker every Thursday. So we practice 6 days a week. So on Saturday as well, we come in, we do what we call the breakfast club. We try to have snacks, but that's an opportunity to get some individual work and then practice as well. So it is a commitment. We send out, that letter at the beginning of the year, letting parents know, that your kid need to show up for practice, all of these kind of things. Talk about, so it's I'm going back. So every Thursday, our kids get a grade sheet that they take to the teachers. The teachers sign off on it. Part of the contract that we have with our players that if you have a D, you can practice, but you can't dress in the game.
Mm.
So when I get that grade sheet, if you have a D, then you know that you're not dressing in that particular game. You got to show up. You got to support your teammates, but you'll be in street clothes, sitting on the bench, and people will know that you're not injured,
Yep.
that you just didn't get it done in the classroom. And so so what we've done in a lot of ways is create this system, man. I mean, and I'm telling you, like when grades come out, and this is when you know that you're doing something right. When our grades come out, my kids are start posting their report cards. Now this is African American boys posting report cards, A's, B's. I made the honor roll on Facebook and on their social media. So where it's been a stigma and it's
Yeah.
not been cool, right, to be smart. If you ask our kids about Minneapolis North basketball, what are you, who are you? They will tell you that they're student athletes, students first. And so our kids are proud and so we have, when I got to North, first thing I did when I took the job at North High School, I pulled the grades, and I ended up letting most of the kids go. I mean, they had won like 3 games in 3 years. So, so we brought in a young group. We fresh started, and I'll say that to coaches as well. Probably the most important thing to me, and I say to any young coach, is starting with your culture, building the culture, right?
Okay.
And my locker room and the culture of my program is the most important thing that I have. So I always say you can't cure cancer. So the only way to get rid of it is to cut it out. And
Mm.
so if you're not serious about academics, if you're not putting yourself in a position where I can send you to college, then chances are you're not going to work in terms of what we do because you're not going to play. You're not, and kids, and after being consistent about this for 20 plus years, so when kids come to North, when their parents sign them up, they know, right? If you go play for McKenzie, if I don't go to class, I'm not going to play. If you're not serious about academic, you're not going to play. And I always tell parents all the time, you can take your son someplace, and particularly if they got a little bit of talent, you can find somebody that's going to play them. But
Yeah.
for me, it's not about them playing basketball. It's for me about using the game for me to position them to go on to college and change their lives, those kind of things. And so that's kind of a really an insight in terms of what we do. You know what I'm saying? Kids have to participate. As I said, my first year at North, we had 87% of our kids AB honor roll students. This past season, we're at 97%. So we're making
Wow.
progress. We're making
Nice.
progress.
That's fantastic stuff. I mean, I know that there's going to be coaches out there that are going, man, like they're going to try and follow this model. I think something that I want to reemphasize for them and for you is that, like you said, you had to cut it out and you had to start young, and you probably took some lumps through that process, but it's about the culture and it's not about necessarily the basketball side of it, just getting that culture in there.
But you know what? That's the beauty of it. So my first year at North, and remember when I came to Minneapolis North, the school was being fresh started. There was only 64 kids enrolled in the building.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we brought some kids in. Our first year, I started an 8th grader, 2 9th graders, and 2 sophomores. And actually, we've been blessed. We've now won 7 consecutive. So every year that I've been back in the city of Minneapolis, we won 7 consecutive conference titles. So we did win a conference title with that young team. We lost in the section finals that year by 2 points. The following year, we had a 9th grader, obviously 2 sophomores and 2 juniors. We lost again in the section finals by 2 points. And then that senior year, those kids, now we won our first state title, and then we won back-to-back titles. And then we actually got upset the following year. But we've 7 consecutive conference titles since we've been there. So even with a young team, you know what I'm saying? And again, I tell people, you know, one of my things that I believe, like, if I could change your mind, I could change your life. The winning starts here, as you well know, right? And it's so much about the mental part. And so we were just able to get those young kids to believe. And I told them from day one, I'm like, I know this sounds crazy. When I took the job in April of 2013, I said, I know this sounds crazy, but we're going to be state champs. And 3 years later, we were state champs. So, and obviously, you know, COVID hit this year, but I also thought we had a great chance of, and so in 4 years, you know, in 4 years, we won 2, we finished second, and we got upset. So, you know, if you look at it, that class of kids, not bad, right? Two titles, a second place win, and of course, you know, one was being upset, but again, every year, some form of, you know, conference champs and that kind of stuff. So we've been fairly successful over the last 7 years. You know, even with a fresh start, the school has now grown from 64 kids to almost 500 kids. So, you know, the pool is deep. I mean, I'm excited and hoping that we'll play this season. I probably got the most talented team that I have. We got some of the best freshmen in the city that's enrolled in our school right now. So North has got a chance to be good for a very long time.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic hearing, you know, about that and how you brought it back. I do want to clarify a couple things just because there's going to be listeners out there. Minneapolis open enrollment, correct? Okay, correct. So Minneapolis is an open enrollment city. Just wanted to get that out there because some coaches are going to go, we can't do that. And then in some states like Washington, where I'm at currently, they don't let 8th graders play varsity basketball.
Right. Yeah.
So just want everybody out there to be clarified. Minnesota, if you're good enough, you're going to play. And with Minneapolis, the city, it does have open enrollment within the city limits, which is great. I mean, fantastic blessing because it allowed, you know, maybe, and I don't think you get enough credit for it, but maybe to save a school by using basketball. And by getting some athletes to want to come in there and play for North, you rejuvenate the whole lifeblood of the school and you get students in there again. Like you said, 2013, it's about to close.
Right.
And I'm out of state now, but I grew up in Minnesota. But what I heard was, and this is just what I'm hearing, you brought in some great players, end up coming in there. You get some of that school spirit again. Now people are proud to be a part of North again, which when I was in high school, I mean, in the late 1990s, they were good. And then
I mean, it was and you know this. I mean, it was the premier basketball program in the state of Minnesota for years. I mean, 1980. I mean, you go all the way back to Red Overton, and I mean, really since I came to Minnesota from 1980 through 1997, and actually even in 2003, we won a title at Patrick Henry. They were state champions in 2003 as well. So it was a school with a great, tradition of sports. But like you said, open enrollment can be a blessing and a curse, right? Mm-hmm. So when the school went through some challenges, because kids can open enroll, you started to see a lot of kids in North Minneapolis end up in suburban schools.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
And a lot of those schools had a lot of success because they had North Side kids as well. So what we've been able to do over the last few years, like you say, as we've got some families interested, athletes started coming in, and now, kids are staying home, staying in the community instead of enrolling in those suburban schools. So it's no doubt, by coming back and revitalizing the program, it's turned a lot of things around. So.
Yeah. And I wanted to make that really clear for everybody. Like, this is the situation that you're working in, and your success for the last 20 years has been following, obviously, basketball in Minneapolis. I mean, even to go to Holy Angels for a few years after the Ripneys, then come back to it. Like, your heart is in Minneapolis. Part of the reason I felt blessed to have you on this podcast, because I wanted you to be able to share what you're doing there, because not enough people know what's happening in the city of Minneapolis. Even the coaches in the state of Minnesota at the college level maybe don't follow it that closely. They see the success, but they don't track what goes into that. So, just a couple pieces that I really am curious about asking more of it, and doesn't seem like you get much resistance. Obviously, parents are bought in. You've had 20 years of success now, so people want to play for Coach McKenzie, and I get that. I know that feeling. Sidebar story, just for people that don't know me.
You gotta tell that.
I'm gonna tell it. I wanted to play for Coach McKenzie. I wasn't in shape. I didn't take care of my business. I was good enough offensively to score. I could play defense. I dove on the floor for loose balls. I was a hustle guy, right? But Coach McKenzie, when he was coaching the ABA team, cut me the night before the first game because I couldn't get in shape fast enough. I was out of shape, and it took me longer than our training camp to get in shape. Blessed that you gave me 2.5 weeks to try to get there. But, our conversation in that was, hey, Eric, I can't play you 15 minutes tomorrow. And the way that we want to play the game, I need everybody on the team to be able to play 15 to 20 minutes so we can keep rotating and running and pressing. And you were right. And, it breaks my heart to talk about it, but it was a good reality check to know, somebody, I don't know who said the quote, but if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
That's right.
I was getting ready.
Yeah.
And you gave me the opportunity. So Coach McKenzie cut me, but blessed to be in that training camp, blessed to see the coaching staff, honored to be able to be around it and see the culture and then even watching games afterwards, knowing that success at the Ripneys with college-age males, that's the ultimate for you. I bet that's the ultimate, it works because you took what you were doing in high school, brought it to professionals. Now these are professional athletes getting paid to play the game of basketball. And you guys won a championship there too, didn't you? I mean, you won your league.
I was getting ready to say that. Absolutely, we did, right?
Hey,
and so a lot of people don't know that we actually, won a.
You did though. Yeah. With the culture and with the guys you put together. Now we were talented. We had some really talented athletes.
We had some. No, it was more
pros.
Definitely pros, right? No. But I mean, that's what I was assigned to do. And again, to your point, I mean, it's the same system that I've been using, all of my career, and in my career, and I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say that it gets lost that I did win a championship, in the ABA that year with the 1 year that we were in existence. But I want to say this, for me, the greatest discovery about having that opportunity, in all honesty, was I discovered that I was really a high school coach. And what I really loved was the fact that God had tapped me to, and I call it this boys to men. So, what I love about the work that I do, Eric, is I get that 13-year-old, because not only can 8th graders play in Minnesota, but 7th graders can actually play. So we have kids that come to us in the 7th grade, 8th grade to begin to soak up the culture. Moms are saying, I just want my kids in. And it's funny because a lot of people really don't see us as a basketball program. They see it as a mentoring or other kind of program. And I honestly get moms that come and say, I just want my kid around what you do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do like the basketball, and I want my son to play for you, but I want my son to be a part of what you do. And so he's not going to play traveling. I don't care if he plays, you know what I'm saying? But can I get my son in the program? And so, if kids are talented enough to participate and play with our 9th graders, we get them started, so you can actually play as a 7th grader. And I've always had the philosophy of this. I mean, just like with the Ripney, I mean, my thing of it is I'm going to take the best 12 guys, regardless of what grade they're in. You know what I'm saying? And again, I tell kids all the time, it doesn't mean the 12 best guys does not mean that they're the 12 best players. What it means is that they're the 12 best guys that we can put together as a collective that gives us a chance to win. So yes, a kid may be, you may be talented, but because you're not disciplined in the classroom or some of those other kind of things, this program may just not be a good fit for you.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. I mean, so we got some things, right? You expect the kids to run a 6-minute mile, and what's the date that you expect them to do that by?
So they usually have to have that done prior to the first practice.
So practice, got to get to 6 minutes.
November. So by first practice, you got to have that mile time done.
Yeah, and then we're talking, you're talking we got afternoon activities, we got after school things that you got to take a part of. This is a lifestyle. You're trying to teach these young boys into men, lifestyle, quality, trying to give them meals, because some, talk about that. Yeah. Some of the kids ain't getting no meals at home.
Well, so I started that because I had one of my best players who actually, when I was at Patrick Henry, got caught stealing food out of the cafeteria. And long discussion with the principal, right? Because the principal wanted to suspend him. And I'm like, you're suspending the kid because he's hungry? Long story short, come to find out, there were some challenges going on at home. And so the kid was basically eating Skittles every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so I started, one of the things that we've been doing, again, different from a lot of other programs, consistently, right, is providing food after school as part of our program. And then on game days, we provide a hot meal for home games and a bag lunch on away games. Because I also know that many of my kids, they don't eat breakfast. They come to school, they don't like the school lunch. And so I can't really expect 100% out of them at practice if they don't have any fuel. So we keep, and my wife, who is a big supporter, if you come to my office right now, we keep a refrigerator with bread, peanut butter, and jelly. We've got community people that bring us, donate peanut butter and jelly. We keep all that. So anytime our kids want a sandwich or whatever, they have access to the refrigerator. Some days we get lucky, we got lunch meat and other those kind of things. But we actually raise money to have the resources to provide a lunch. So every day after school, kids get a sandwich, a bag of chips, like I say, water, and maybe a cookie or something of that nature. But for 18 weeks, if we're practicing, with the exception of Saturdays, our kids are going to be provided a meal.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic stuff. And I think, something, I coached out in Tacoma, Washington for a while in the high school ranks out here. Some kids here too, same challenges, right?
Yep.
But am I really dedicating time for them to get their homework done in a safe environment? Am I really dedicating time for them to eat a meal? Those are just the things. So it's good to hear that culture is embedded in what you're doing.
Let me say this too, Eric, because a lot of people, as you said, there's going to be some other coaches listening to this. And I want to say this so that people understand. A big part of what I do, I was blessed. I grew up in a two-family household, but my dad worked quite a bit in my life. And so when I got to college, I got involved with the college fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, for those that want to know. And my fraternity advisor, John K. Cameron, and to this day, God bless his soul because he's no longer here. But out of, at that time, probably 30 guys, right? He saw something in me at that time. And I tell people, this is true. In college, as a young man, I had a lot of, even in high school, just because of some personal things, I had a lot of anger in my life, anger problems. And to this day, I always said, Larry McKenzie could have never played for Coach McKenzie. It just would have been, it would not have worked, right? And so, but John K. Cameron saw something in me. He invested in my life. He worked with me through some of my anger issues. And so we got very close. And I would offer, like I would go out like you do. He was like a second father, but he would never took a Christmas gift, never took a Father's Day gift, never let me pay for lunch, never let me pay for dinner. The only thing he would always say to me was this, Eric. He would always say, Mac, the only thing I want from you, when the time comes, I want you to allow other people to stand on your shoulders the way that you stood on mine. Every time I tried to show him how much I appreciated what he had done for me in my life, he would never took anything. Yeah. He would always say, all I want from you, when the time comes, I want you to allow other people to stand on your shoulder the way you stood on mine. I have to say, a lot of the way that I approach this work is because of that obligation. What he has done for me, I'm obligated to do to the young men that I coach, primarily because I was one of them. I saw how your life could be changed when people really cared, you know what I'm saying, poured into you and those kind of things. And so I probably approach this different than a lot of other people. Like I said, for me, from day one, it's been a ministry, right? Not just coaching. And again, I played the game, so I love the game. I love teaching the game, but it's been more than that to me. And so, when I'm dealing with my young men, and I know that even if you're successful, if you get a chance to get a paycheck, like the guys that was on the Rip Knees, right? Very few people ever get a paycheck for playing basketball. People don't realize that. But if you're blessed to do that, at some point, you're going to be doing something else. At some point, you're going to be doing something else. And so at that point, part of what we're supposed to be doing is preparing you for life, right? Yeah. And basketball is that tool. And so that's what we do. We use it as a tool to prepare young men for life. And that's what I'm saying. So, whether you make it or not, And I tell people, Eric, I just believe in this with my young men. If I give you the information, right, I can't hold you accountable for what you don't know. I
Yep.
can't hold you accountable for what you don't know. But once I give you the information, then you start to make a choice. You start to make a choice. And a lot of so one of the things that you talk about, again, what's different from our program, and if anybody who's ever played for me, I tell them, if you don't learn anything else from Coach McKenzie, you take this with you. And it's what I call our creed. And it's something that I've been doing for 21 plus years. Our creed we do every day before practice. You know, it was part of what we did with the rip knee.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or use it for good. For what I do today is important. I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. I must decide, good or bad, gain or loss, success or failure, in order that I never regret the price that I paid for it. That creed is about choices.
Yep.
It's about choices.
And I remember we did it every day, right
every
before
day.
Practice. Stretch, creed, get to work.
That's right. So once you have the information, then you're making a choice, right? And so we want you to have information. So then you're deciding you're choosing right or wrong, but you know better.
Yeah.
But you know better. And so for me, that is what I want to equip my young men with.
Yeah, the power of choice, and know that they have control. Good.
Yes, sir.
I love it. I think, everything you're talking about is about what you're building, what you have, what you're doing. And I know there's going to be some coaches who listen who are like, all right, where's the basketball? So now take a few minutes, Coach, and let's transition. Talk to us about the 2 or 3 things that are a part of your culture, basketball-wise, that will always be there. What are your staples in your basketball?
So one of the things we've already talked about that early on. We want to defend. You know what I'm saying? We're going to defend, and so we talk about one of our mantras as well is 36 minutes of hell. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna play from the time the ball goes up to the time that final whistle is blowing. That
the old Arkansas? Is that the old Arkansas?
Yeah, absolutely, right. So we're gonna get up in you. We want to play fast. You know what I'm saying? We want to control tempo. We're gonna do those kind of things. I tell my kids I want them to value the basketball. You know what I'm saying? Make good decisions, that kind of thing out there. And then lastly, to be honest with you, let's have fun doing it, right? And when you give 100% and you play hard, win, lose, or draw, when you walk off that floor, you're gonna feel good, right? Yeah. And so I want that to be a part of the process. Whatever we do, we don't want to walk off the floor knowing that we're at 80%, 85%, 90%. As the old folks used to say when I was a kid in the church, 99.5 won't do. So we need 100%. You know what I'm saying? And if you give that, and I tell kids all the time, man, one of the things in life, when you've given it all you've got, you can keep your head up, walk away, and feel good because you know that. Now, what happens is when you don't give it all, and you got questions in the back of your mind about it, it's a different kind of feeling. And that's not something that you want to feel. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to walk away and then not win a championship because you didn't give it your all. And so, again, that's part of the life lesson that we're trying to teach our kids. So, we want to bring it every day, but, we want to play fast. But I want it to be, I want kids to have a good experience. So, offensive end. And again, I tell people, I'm a teacher. I think good coaches are teachers and good teachers are coaches. Mm-hmm. But I want to teach the game. I want them to have an understanding of what we do and why we do it. So that's a little bit about the basketball side of it. But again, it's a tool, right? Yeah. And so much. I think when you look back of who you are and what you do, you know what I'm saying? There's so many beautiful life lessons that's a part of this game. And again, whether you're a banker, a lawyer, a coach, an educator, no matter what you do in life, there are things that you learn, in terms of accountability, honesty, working hard, being on time, all of those kind of things. Those are life lessons that the game of basketball teaches you. And if you take those, whether you make the NBA or not, you're going to be successful, son. You're going to be successful. but
Yeah.
you gotta buy in. As one of my coaches, Coach Pete, like to say, you got to be a sponge. You got to soak it up. You got to take it all in.
Yeah. No, it's great. Great stuff. I think, we've kind of gone through, we've been here for about 45 minutes talking, going through it. I think you've shared a ton of info, Coach. Couple of last pieces. If just a couple last questions I want to cover with you. You got a young head coach trying to talk to you, trying to get your best piece of advice. What's the number one thing you're telling him?
So first of all, you got to lead. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go.
Okay.
So you have to, don't expect anything from your kids that you're not willing to do yourself. And then you got to be a student of the game. Knowledge is power, man. No matter what. I tell people, Eric, even now, since pandemic, I can't tell you how many clinics I've done. I can't tell you how many videotapes I can tell you I've already read about 8 books in the last since March 13th. And so
what's the best one you read?
To be honest with you, right now, I've read so many.
During pandemic, though, what's the best one you read so far?
So far, it's what I'm trying to think of the book right now. Anti-Racist by Ibrahim X, and that's probably one of the most recent books, and it's more timely.
Okay.
But I've been reading Kevin Eastman's book, Good to Great. It also would be in that category. Relentless as well. So
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Coach is gonna ask you what you read if you don't tell him. So you gotta tell him.
Yep. So and I think I am able now, even if I'm gonna share this so that you'll be able to have it and download it. We're here real quick. You can let me get it. Let me open it up.
Yeah, no problem.
Got it. And then at least it'll be here. We didn't go through this, but it is something that coaches will be able to use. So it's coming up.
No, I appreciate it. Should be getting it. I can't see it yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah. The sharing screen is paused, it said.
Oh.
So.
There we go. Looks like it's working.
Okay. Plus escape. Okay, we don't want to press escape. So. Why is it not? It's coming. It looks like it's coming. So.
Yep. No, it's good. Looks like it's coming up.
Yeah. Okay. So, is it there, right?
Yep, I can see it now.
Okay.
And if you want, you can email this to me too. And
I'll email it to you. Let me just kind of quick, if I can click through this real quick.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time, Coach.
Let me just. We won't go through the video here. You can have that later.
And I'll link this into the YouTube when I put up the video. I'll link this in the bio, so people can look at this.
Yeah. And so if you go through, I think I'm clicking here. So what I just talk about is, some of the things in terms of what I wanted to get to in here. So you talk about some of the things that we do that I think is important as a coach, integrity, and then so right here, this sheet here tells you a little bit about the overview, our whole program in terms of what we're doing. So the A+ letter is in here, those kind of things. This is A+ right here. So that's a copy of the letter that we send out to the administrators where we talk
Awesome.
about where you see in there where we want kids to sit in the front rows and all of
Hmm.
those kind of things. So I will share that with you. And so this is the document that you can send out. But this will give you and if people obviously my information is in there, but it gives you a good overview of our program and my own coaching stuff as well. So
Yeah.
I'll email that to you, and if you want to use that as you feel free to. So
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you be willing to share that. That's great. I think coaches are going to want to see it and see what you're doing. Uh, like I said before, I don't know how this podcast is going to take off or not. If it does, I would expect that you get some emails, Coach. So you may get some emails of coaches asking questions,
yeah,
and
and
you
I'm open
know,
to that. Yep, I'm open to that. So
I appreciate that. Last couple things I got. If you were hosting this podcast, who would you have on? Who would you want? Who would you want to hear?
I will tell you Shamron White from Pace Academy in Atlanta, a young man that I good friends with and highly respect. Don Showalter, USA Basketball. Coach Jones, Mike Jones at the Mather.
Yeah,
Another one of my favorite coaches. I think Nick Irwin, who's now at Western Illinois, did a great job at Morgan Park. Terry Head, Coach Lou Adams in Chicago, who's also very much like myself
yeah.
in terms of the work that he's doing, in the heart of the city of Chicago. I can go on and on and on, but those are a lot of guys. Uh, Coach Brian Joyce, who is another good friend of mine, was at Liberty,
Yeah.
a great man of integrity. So
Yeah,
those,
no, just trying
yeah,
to trying to figure out who coaches want to hear from,
yes, sir.
and maybe might send them an email and just say, hey, love to chat with you. Come recommended from Coach McKenzie.
Yes, sir. Feel
Um,
free. All of those guys. Yeah.
I
You
appreciate
gotta
that.
get Shamron. You gotta get Shamron White on for sure. Him
Okay,
and Coach Walter. Yeah.
and what's the academy called in Atlanta that
Pace
Sharma?
Academy. And I'll send you his information.
Hey, appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah.
Last piece. Who do you want to thank? Who would you thank? Obviously, you talked a lot about your mentor. Anybody else that you'd like to thank or
I
say
mean,
like make it possible?
I'm indebted to so many people, man. I mean, so not. I mean, John Cameron, who's not here, but
Yeah.
obviously, my mom and dad. My dad had a great influence on my life in so many ways. Who's also not here anymore, but
Hmm.
he was an educator and a coach, and a community servant, and so much about who I am right now and what I do. I mean, I learned that firsthand from my father.
Yeah.
And my mom, my grandmother, Pauline Jones, who probably was the greatest influence on my life. My coaching staff, I mean, Coach Pete, Coach Shelton, Coach Witts, Coach
Yeah.
Jackson, Coach Mitchell, Coach Taylor, Coach McElwin. I mean, I'm blessed to have probably what I consider the greatest coaching staff in the United States, and
Yeah.
certainly in the state of Minnesota, who've been with me and I mean, all of my accomplishments I owe to them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I've been blessed to all the parents that have allowed me to coach their sons. You know what I'm saying? And play a
Hmm.
small part in their lives. I mean, the hundreds of players that have played for me. I mean, I'm here because of all of them. So I get
Yeah.
all the accolades, but they're the reason that I'm even on here with you. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be here.
No, I appreciate it, Coach. It's been fantastic. I'm going to be in the state in the next couple of weeks permanently, so I'm looking forward to coming down and seeing a workout this summer and talking, shaking some coaches' hands and saying thank you guys for giving me the view behind the curtain. So I really do appreciate that, and I'm sure the people people who listen to this and we share it, people that watch this, gonna enjoy that as well too, Coach. So.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Hey, I appreciate it. You have a good day, and we'll connect later, all right?
All right, sounds good. All right, and I'll
Thanks.
email you that information.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on episode 1 of the Conversations on Culture podcast. Coach Larry McKenzie had lots of insight today. It's a great podcast to share. It's going to be awesome to get this thing published. I'm excited for everybody to be able to hear the nuggets of wisdom that Coach McKenzie shared today. Few takeaways as far as a mental skills practitioner, mental skills consultant, anybody working with teams like Coach McKenzie's. Number one thing is that Coach McKenzie is preparing these athletes for what the next level is going to look like academically. There's a lot of pieces in here that he talks about. He wants them to have goals. That's the reason for the 6-minute mile, the 6:30 mile for his athletes before the season starts. There's reasons for all those pieces of what Coach McKenzie's put into his program. He shared that PowerPoint with me. He found it at the end, and I'm going to link it into the YouTube channel so that anybody who watches this, listens to this, can have access to that stuff. Please, if you're using something of his, give him the credit for it, or just change it and make it your own. You know, he's very open with sharing. He's been on lots of podcasts. He's a professional speaker, coach, teacher in his heart. So just want him to get that credit for it and understand that, if he's developing things originally, he said some things about standing on others' shoulders, and that's key in this business. As mental skills practitioner, I think you can take that away from this. We stand on the shoulders of giants. We really do. And nothing that we take is really original. We make some stuff and we develop unique ideas and original ideas, but reality, it's created from a bunch of other people's ideas meshed together. So just want to encourage mental skills practitioners to understand, give gratitude like Coach McKenzie did. You heard the emotion in his voice. You heard him talking about his mentor. Just wanted to emphasize that. That's what his program's about. Stand on my shoulders. I'm going to allow these students to stand on my shoulders for these past 20 years because in the future, they're going to allow someone to stand on theirs. And that's how progress happens. So I'm excited for people to listen to this. And I'm thankful for you all for listening to this. But as far as mental skills, helping athletes develop goals, develop their purpose, their why, showing them what the next level looks like, showing them what accountability looks like, those are key things. Coach McKenzie has a great faith background, believes in his why, tremendous gratitude towards each day. You heard the creed. He said it. I said it. He cut me, but I said it every day in training camp, and I'm thankful for that. I'm ashamed to say I don't remember it offhand, but I will learn it again, and I'm excited to share that with future people that I work with and future athletes. I just think as a mental skills practitioner, this is full of nuggets. Pull them out, use them, stand on coach's shoulders. It gives you a peek behind the veil of what it's like to coach in an urban environment. And I think that's super important, especially in these day and ages. So one of the most successful coaches, and thank you to Coach McKenzie for coming on. Thank you to everybody who listens to this, everybody who watches this. Appreciate all of you. Feel free to share and enjoy the video. Thanks.